My father shone the limelight. He would laugh at people who would seek out covet, honor, and recognition. His famous refrain was, "Sofa covet lobo," the honor will come. My father had no ego, especially in his communal work. He had no problem having doors slammed at his face. He had no problem befriending the lowest workers in an office if it was for the greater goal, if it was to help them with a cause that he thought was important to buy himself. My father had a tremendous slave oath. For those who knew my father prior to his last 2 years, may remember him also as a very strong person. I remember I was once walking with my father, and we saw in the street a person that he knew for many years ago. And he commented to me in what I believe was an autobiographical comment. And he said, "There's nothing like a good war to toughen somebody up." My father maybe had a bit of a tough exterior, maybe strong, but inside he had a heart of gold. He was a real softy. I remember when my father was sending me off to high school, to dormitory yeshiva, and it coincided with the period of my mother's Yerushalayim, and I just didn't want to go. I was feeling very homesick. It was shortly after my mother was in terrace. And my father, as the mechanech that he was, felt that it was important to send me and to teach me that I gotta go and toughen me up. And one could say almost ruthlessly, pushed me out to go to yeshiva. And I was an hour later sitting in the mashgiach's office crying. And lo and behold, my father was calling in the mashgiach, and my father was telling him, "Please take care of her, is it okay?" That was my father. My father was an incredible father who cared about his children and grandchildren tremendously. They were his life. Shkena of his children was such an important part of his life. It was so important for him to instill in his children and grandchildren the same love for Klal he had. My father was also a very caring husband. So much of his time was occupied with how's mother, what's going with her, where is she? When he would go somewhere, even before he was weaker, he would always insist that mother went with him. He was proud to have mother by his side. It meant so much to him. He really was an incredible husband. And this was reciprocated by mother. Especially the past few years, mother, you've been incredible to daddy. Absolutely incredible. I know I speak for myself. I'm certain I speak for all the children. The tremendous gratitude across the fact that we have for the way you took care of daddy and the covet and the honor you showed him. If daddy would forget sometimes, be very careful not to make it a big deal about it. Be very careful not to make him feel bad. It was so important for you to preserve his covet. We really thank you for that. In a little over a month in Tefillah for Rosh Hashanah, we're going to say Tefillah B'chein Tein Kaftecha. I once heard an insight that when we're being inspired for B'chein Tein Kaftecha, we're being inspired for Yiras Shamayim, for the fear of God. Included in that request is that we should only be fearful. We should only be fearful of God. We shouldn't be fearful of anything else. We shouldn't have to be fearful of anything else. My father had no inhibitions. He wasn't afraid of anybody or anything. He was only afraid of the Baruch. He would often say to me or the other kids when one encouraged us to not to be afraid to talk to a big person or do something. He said he puts on the pants the same way I do. And he would also often say, Kimani Yore, I fear I couldn't Baruch. That's what drove him. My father had a certain digduk mitzvahs, exacting in his performance of mitzvahs. He would often tell us that when he was a young boy in Vilna and running away during the war, that he never ate not kosher. My father was always very mindful to daven Shabbos and Mincha with a minyan. Many times that was very difficult for him. I don't remember him missing a Shabbos, certainly. I don't think I remember missing a mincha either this year. I was very fortunate we were away, and I was very fortunate we didn't know how bad the situation really was. But I was very fortunate to come yesterday morning. And spend a few hours with my father. I put on the phone for him. And I was sitting by his side, holding his hands. In fact, when he crashed, and I don't know if that was the Yishis and Neshama, because afterwards we were working on it. But I was holding his hand. Forever, I'll be thankful for that opportunity. But about a half hour before it was mitzvah, the whole morning he kept saying, "Today, daven Meir, today, daven Meir." And I kept saying, "Daddy, yeah, you daven Meir." Mother said, "Yeah, you daven Meir, you daven Shabbos." He kept saying, "Today, daven Meir." About a half hour before it was mitzvah, we started davening Meir again. And he said, "Krishma again." And I said, "Daddy, you don't have to." And he shooed me away. He said, and he said it again, and again, and again. Who knows, maybe he was supposed to do the digduk mitzvahs all the years that the Prophet granted him this opportunity to be zev to say Krishma so many times before his mitzvah. As I mentioned before, my father had a close relationship with several Gedolim, foremost of Aaron. I think that what he considered Aaron to be his Rebbe before, when he spoke so most fondly about his relationship with Aaron, was Aaron's being a role model to him and his price and responsibility to Israel. My father approached everything with a sense of responsibility. Yes, it's true he would say anybody can do it, but I have to do it. My father also had a very close relationship with Shimon Arba. When I was just going to yeshiva, I was 17 years old. My father arranged for me to have a 2-hour discussion with Hashem Zalman about a whole host of things. During this meeting, Hashem Zalman said to me, "I want you to know I'm a kind of your father's Elam Haba. I'm a kind of the Elam Haba that's waiting for your father, Shemayim." And he told me over the famous Chafetz Chaim that says that one who supports Torah, marriage to be sitting together with the people who learn Torah in the world to come. And he said that the Chafetz Chaim asks, that's a schus. It would seem that that's the biggest punishment. Here you have a Balabas, who doesn't know how to learn like this, and he's sitting next to the Talmidei Chacham. It would seem like this is the biggest punishment for him. He said, Zalman explained, that the Chafetz Chaim explains, that it must be that somebody who supports Torah and Shemayim is worthy that they teach him, and they teach him the Torah that he supported. Rav Shlomo Zalman said to me, there are tens and thousands of Back then it was tens of thousands. I followed it a few things since then. There are tens of thousands of children who are learning Torah and they're supposed to be father. There are thousands of Israelites who are learning Torah and supposed to be father. He'll be sitting with them in the nation. That's why I'm kind. Daddy, you have our son's mom, Papa. That's the biggest chacham for us. That we know that all your merits will serve to protect you. And you're going to have a very, very prominent seat. You're going to eat it. There's so much about the grandfather that I want my children to remember. There's so much that Saba wants all his children and grandchildren to remember. But I think the single most important legacy that he leaves for us is to take our Fridays, to take responsibility for Klal Yisrael. However you do it. And like Saba would always tell us, you can do it, you just have to try and you'll ask God to Shema. Anybody can do it, you just have to do it. Daddy would always say to me, to all of us, I don't want to be the richest man in the cemetery. I want to do something with my money. Daddy, you truly will be the richest man in the cemetery. You have accomplished over your life very few people have ever accomplished. You will be sorely, sorely missed by us all. But you leave behind a beautifully rich legacy of your family and your deeds and everything that you built. At times it's not easy being the son of such a successful, prominent person. Maybe I didn't live up to your expectations. I promise you I'll try. I'm certain that there were times that I didn't give you the proper honor and covet that you deserve. In the name of Ellen and the children, myself, Daddy, please be my thoughts. We love you. We'll miss you.